we're competing for attention. And as much as advertising competes for attention, you still have to retain it. And the product itself has to be marketed as something that is like new, improved, or just solves a problem in a way that people are they're finding a new mechanism. It's like a bubble bath versus a bath bomb, right? So I tend to look for something like that, or just really strong front end marketing content, right? Like something that is like
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Okay, today we're talking about Shopify. We're going to be talking about expanding to a Shopify. If expanding to a Shopify store is a smart move for your Amazon business. What types of products are going to be expanding into Shopify? Why are offers so important to direct to consumer or D2C? And the difference between, and this is really important, the difference between an Amazon store and selling on selling. Does that make sense? Opening up selling on Amazon and selling on an Amazon store. It's Friday, guys. Anyways, I know already how this podcast is going to go. How about the difference between selling on Amazon and a Shopify store? Welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. All right, I'm excited about this one. I've been trying to get our guest on for a while here. Actually, it was back to the first online seller cruise that we met. Anyways, our guest is co-founder and director of brand selection at Brand Power. They help Amazon brands expand and get onto Shopify. He is an e-commerce veteran who has worked closely with national brands and publicly traded companies as a D2C growth consultant. He brings over a decade of experience in his direct response copywriting, digital infrastructure, and new customer acquisition to his podcast. Anyways, I'm talking about the veteran Caulen Foster, first-time guest. Can't wait to talk to him. Let's have a word from our sponsor first. Are you struggling to keep up with your Amazon business? Do you need help from a skilled, reliable virtual assistant? Well, look no further than the Virtual Assistant Academy, or VAA Philippines. Founded by successful Amazon sellers who know the challenges of hiring quality VAs, VAA specializes in locating, screening, training, and supporting high-quality VAs in the Philippines. Their VAs receive extensive Amazon training and ongoing professional development and are committed to a long-term working relationship with you. Partner with VAA and experience the peace of mind knowing that you have a dedicated Amazon-trained VA who's up to date with the latest tools and trends in the dynamic Amazon marketplace. Head over to VAAphilippines.com and let VAA match you with your ideal VA. I'm going to be drinking out of my Lunch with Norm mug. Colin's going to be drinking out of his Amy Weiss mug. And off we go to the races. How are you, sir?
Great to be here.
All right, there we go,
man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay, so this has been a long time in coming, but
it has.
I'm very excited that you're going to be here finally, and we can talk Shopify. You're one of the smart guys in the business, and I can't wait to really get into this. So why don't we just talk a little bit about this? And one of the things that I thought I'd ask this a little bit later on, but why don't we just get into the weeds right now and talk about what's the difference? Why should a person on Amazon all of a sudden take a look at Shopify?
Sure. So, I think ideally the first thing you're looking at is just multiple sales channels, right? Typically when we see, it depends on the kind of seller, right? But let's say that you have really gone deep. You've got a great understanding of your Amazon business. You're looking to take this more from just a product that's based more on search volume or keyword volume. You're actually trying to build like a brand awareness. You're trying to get a little bit more expansive in terms of your sales ambitions. I think expanding into another channel really has the capacity to help not only with brand awareness, but scaling your company as well, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with like the psychology in terms of where you're at. I can tell you one of the places one of the times you don't want to do it is when let's say you're Amazon, so you're not doing so hot on Amazon. You have a lot of Chinese competitors entering your space, and your product is kind of becoming a race to the bottom, things like that. The last thing you want to do is go move on to another channel like Shopify to go ahead and try and make up for what's happening on to your brand or business on Amazon. There's a little asterisk on that, but I'd say in 9 out of 10 cases, that's when you don't really want to do it. You don't want to use it as a backup plan, right? I always tend to say use this as, it's not Amazon versus Shopify, it's complementary, right? It's another sales channel for you to drive revenue after you've already got a really good understanding and grasp on your business, where your primary driver of traffic and sales is Amazon, right? Apple didn't always sell at T-Mobile and other cell phone stores. They built out Apple, they built out their brand, and then as they began to grow, they wanted to expand sales channels, right? So that's not their pivotal, most important source of customer acquisition and retention, but it helps, right? So I tend to say that's where a lot of the Amazon to Shopify mindset would go towards.
Yeah, and I guess one of the other things we have to look at is with Amazon, you've got that captivated audience, right? Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it is pay to play now, but you still have that I want to buy audience. Where
Yep.
on Shopify, you've really got to create that audience, don't you?
You said it perfectly. So the two, it's just demand capture versus demand creation, right? Demand capture, if my daughter needed dance pants for school, I'm just dance pants. I look them up, high intent. It's capturing my demand. Whereas D2C, Shopify being the platform, direct to consumer, and Shopify being the platform we pretty much all operate on at this point. It typically, due to the nature of traffic that you're driving from sources like Facebook, Instagram, or Meta, right, and TikTok, things like that, more social. Those are demand creation channels. They command a little bit more of a direct response style of advertising. So there's a lot more on Amazon. I would say there's a lot more selling and convincing your consumer, and on D2C, it's a lot more marketing. You have to really go through the customer value journey. You have to really understand consumer psychology. You have to understand offer development. There's a little bit more to getting a purchase than just capturing that demand and making people feel confident that they can buy your product for whatever it is they're looking for, right? That's why typically we always say for Amazon, you're kind of competing for keywords. On D2C, you're usually competing for attention. So it's a little less predictable. So it has those little caveats in it.
I think when you take a look at Amazon, you could be somebody, and I've seen this at all the conferences. It's always the other job. Nobody
Yeah.
starts life saying, I'm going to be an Amazon seller. They're, oh, okay, I want to do this as a side hustle. All of a sudden they're seeing how they do it. And they're there. With Shopify, I think it's a different bird. For me anyways, Kelsey knows this. I am nuts when it comes to business plans. So everything I'm entering into, and I didn't do it for Amazon, by the way, but for Shopify, my Shopify stores have a business plan. And on top of that, one step further. So we talk about knowing numbers. It's just, and you don't have to be a CPA or CA here in Canada. You don't have to know it. You just have to know a little bit so you can direct, and you hire these experts. And I say the same thing when you're looking at Shopify store. And I'm not sure how you feel about this, but you might want to go into digitalmarketer.org or, the digital marketer. And take a few of their mastery courses that take a few hours. And now, oh, that's what that is. Oh, that's a persona. Oh, and you get a little bit. And then you don't have to do it yourself. You can hire people. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you brought up something about economics, which it's not a catch. It's not a catch. I actually literally just posted something about this on LinkedIn yesterday. So this is kind of timely. So unit economics is something that people don't really discuss a lot in D2C. I mean, they do, but it's not, it doesn't have the buzzword of like funnels, Facebook, TikTok. those words are they're much more trendy, I guess. But the first thing that I would say when you're looking at your D2C business is unit economics, right? We have a couple of portfolio brands we're building basically from scratch, right? Where we source, we supply, we sell, we do everything within our portfolio. Um, but before we even launch anything, we look at unit economics, right? We look at what is our cost of goods, what are the things that we really need to focus on, because the landscape of D2C right now does not allow for poor margins. It doesn't allow for
Mm.
poor unique selling propositions. It doesn't allow for poor logistics and freight costs. It simply does not allow it. You have to be dialed in on your unit economics before you can even start to think about marketing your business, because at some point it doesn't matter how good the marketing is. If the unit economics don't back out to profitability, you're going to be chasing that like a cat and mouse game forever. And I've done it personally, so I know. If no matter how great your product is, when I was selling my own brand, I had an amazing product, but the unit economics didn't back out. No matter how much I tried, no matter how low our CPA got, no matter how high our ROAS looked, I was never profitable because the unit economics just didn't allow for it to happen. And the only way for it to happen would have been to just continue to burn and burn and burn the very precious cash flow that a D2C e-commerce business needs. So I always preface that now with like unit economics. I'm literally going through a training right now based entirely on unit economics, not only because we're looking to acquire brands now, but because we're building our own. So it's just something that I don't think people talk about. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, understanding the key principles that are going to go into building on a site like on a Shopify site, right? And a lot of that is rooted in what we would call direct response advertising. So, understanding how to acquire customers, understanding that you're going to have to capture and
Caulen,
create customers. Yeah.
I think your mic just switched.
Oh, did it?
Oh no, maybe it was just the distance.
Was I
away
not
from
close
your...
enough? Maybe. Yeah. Sorry.
Maybe.
Is that better?
That's a lot better.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sometimes I lean back so much. I'm just chilling. So, I think that ultimately understanding that the principles of marketing, the customer value journey, understanding how you're going to capture attention, on Amazon, for example, A+ content, standard product images, hero images with a white background, that's commonplace. On advertising platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you go to market with that type of content, you're going to get butchered. You're not going to make money. And then we go into the product analysis side, which is a whole different beast. But at the root, you need to understand how you're going to capture and convert attention. Doesn't necessarily mean high resolution 4K, $5,000 plus production videos. It really means just good user generated content, cell phone videos, what I like to consider advertising native or native advertising, right? So we want to make sure that if somebody's on TikTok, they're seeing an ad that looks like a TikTok. It doesn't look like an ad.
Right.
If you're on Instagram, it looks like an Instagram post. It doesn't look like an ad. So you have to understand the landscape that you're operating in, because at that point you're competing for attention, and it's literally extremely profitable to know how to command that attention, because the way Facebook works is you don't pay for clicks. You can't, I guess in most cases you don't pay for clicks, right? You pay for impressions. So I pay the same, what we would call the CPM. I pay that for the most part, no matter whether I'm driving great traffic or bad traffic. If you drive great traffic, Facebook will typically reward you and reduce your cost. But no matter what, I'm paying that same fixed amount to show my ads in front of 1,000 people. It's like if you put 1,000 billboards along a highway, you can either pay $1,000 for those billboards or $10,000, whatever the fixed fee is. You're going to pay that fixed fee, and however many people get off is however many people get off. So that's kind of the nature of the billboards. Like, how many people are going to get off when they see your billboard? If they, whether they do or they don't, you still got to pay the same 10 grand. So one customer could either cost you $30 or it can cost you $300, simply on the ability to create captivating content. That's like the backbone of it. So marketing, hook, story, offer, those principles, understanding how to capture people's attention, that's part of that ecosystem that you really have to understand to compete at the level. Because you got guys like me, that's all we do. Like, I'm just a huge marketing nerd. Like, I'm literally, I got a book here that I'm reading. It's like, it's all I do. 16-word sales letter, by the way. If anybody wants a really amazing book, read this book. It'll change
Kelsey,
your life.
take that down. 16-word sales letter.
This is a nugget right here. I'm telling you. That book is gold. It'll give you some really great principles on how to write landing pages, how to advertise, just really solid stuff. So in that instance, you really have to understand that, yeah, you can hire people, but you got to understand the principles of what you're hiring for, right? Like, if I were starting a brand that I wanted to have on Amazon, the only reason why I would even remotely know who to hire is just because I have the network of people, because I've been working in the Amazon space for so long, but I wouldn't really know what to look for. I'm fortunate because I've been around cool people and great people, and I know great resources who are credentialed, but generally speaking, you have to know what you're hiring for,
Yeah. One of the things I just want to note to the listeners, if you do know anybody who is interested in jumping over to Shopify, please ping them and let them know that this is live. This is a great topic. We're going to get into a lot more questions. And also, we do have a great, very good giveaway today. We'll talk about that shortly. But hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you'll get a second entry. So let's just get the ball rolling, because I think we'll get a bunch of people today, even though it's Friday. But okay, what about some of the basics? What products or niches would probably be best selling on Shopify?
So I don't tend to so my functional role at the agency, for anybody listening, my functional role besides co-founder of the agency is director of brand selection. So that's what I do, is I look at brands and products all day, every week. Probably over 350 products in the last 2 years that I've looked at. So the first thing I really look for is, well, there's so much, but just right off the top of my head, first thing is really strong, unique selling proposition. Like I was saying before, for anybody listening who's not familiar with that term, just what makes you different in the marketplace. It could be your audience and the way you market to your audience. It could be the nature of your product. Maybe you solve or improve the way a problem is solved, right? You completely replace it or you improve it. Something like that would be the first thing that I look at, assuming unit economics, like we just talked about, makes sense. Then I go into the product itself. We're competing for attention. And as much as advertising competes for attention, you still have to retain it. And the product itself has to be marketed as something that is like new, improved, or just solves a problem in a way that people they're finding a new mechanism. It's like a bubble bath versus a bath bomb, right? So I tend to look for something like that, or just really strong front end marketing content, right? Like something that is like, you get like a liquid death kind of water model, where the advertising is really, it's complete opposite of the industry standard. Things like that are really appealing, because then there's something called market sophistication, right? Market sophistication is centered around products that, like, if you have a high level of sophistication for, let's say, bottled water, the product has been in the market for a long time. People are aware of it. You can only sell the benefits and the features of that product so many times before people have heard about it, right? Like the first razor blade that came out, right? When it first came out, the market sophistication was low. Now razor blades are everywhere, right? Like single use razor blades for your face. So the market sophistication is high. So the best way to market to that audience when the market sophistication is high is by connecting with the audience. Look at coffee, right? Coffee was being sold to veterans for years, but it wasn't being marketed to veterans, right? So then Black Rifle comes along and they come with this very front end heavy, amazing marketing proposition to an audience, and they begin to sell their product. Then you don't have so much unique selling proposition in terms of the product, but you've got a unique selling proposition in the way that you're marketing your product to the consumer. Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely.
So I either look at it from a product perspective, or I look at it from a marketing perspective. What angles are we coming from here? If I have at least one of those two to play with, great. But if you're selling like just, dog treats, and you don't have a marketing angle towards it, you don't have a new mechanism or something in the dog treat that makes it, unique, it's going to be very hard for me to sell that to a consumer on a demand creation model where I have to create the demand. I have to make you want to buy it. And if there's nothing unique about it, why would somebody who's not even in that headspace want to buy it when they can just go to the grocery store and literally get the same exact thing? So a unique selling proposition, or I would call it maybe a unique marketing proposition, are the first thing that I would look for, right? Does your product improve or replace the way a problem is solved, or does it market to an audience in a way that nobody has marketed to them before? That's my first thing.
Yeah, and I came across this week when I was talking to another person, and we were talking about niches, USPs, and just if you're trying to market to everybody. So the question was, who's your market? Everyone.
Yep. Yeah,
Well,
that's
why
the
don't you
worst
just
answer you
take
can give.
yeah, just shoot me now, because
Yeah,
it's a failure. It's auto failure.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if it's an auto failure, but you might have a 1 or 2% chance of survival. You have to have an audience.
Yep.
It can't be everybody.
Yep.
So I don't know about
Yep.
you. I don't know a single product out there that markets to everybody. And if you take a look, so I'm in beauty, as you can tell.
Beard oil, probably.
Yeah,
That's my
that's
guess.
the only thing I'm not selling, by the way.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But anyways, soaps, bar soaps. Well, who sells bar soaps nowadays? It's all liquid soaps. Well, Lush. Lush killed it when they came out. In fact, I read their business research and their business model, and it was incredible. And they're everywhere. Now let's just go to an online presence. Dr. Squatch.
Yep.
Dr. Squatch took a bar of cold processed natural soap, and they geared it towards men using, age old tradition of sex, but they marketed it, and I couldn't believe it. So I know probably 4 or 5 people that were using their base supplier at one point.
Yeah.
They got to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions, yeah.
These other people went under.
Yeah.
And it's Squatch. Yep. So brilliant on their part. I wish I would have gone to Prosper to reach. I didn't go this year, but just to hear what they had to talk about, because it's such a great case study. And it's like what you're talking about with the water. It's a commodity, but you put the spin on it, or the coffee, and you spin it. Now you've got an audience that you can that you could reach. Like I know Wilfred Lightheart and I had a group at one time. We would target communities for Democrats, for Republicans, and then what we thought people would be involved with, right? So anyways, these communities, once you drill down, so just to give you an example, all right, the type of dog, and now you could have a left and a right. Okay, what would be that dog or that pet, that dog, that brand or breed? And now you start niche targeting. We had for schnauzers, I think we had 175,000 schnauzer owners. Well, small dog, very, very, and you could just rifle in on it. It's no longer a shotgun approach. You knew exactly what they wanted. And anyways, this is something, by the way, if you're listening, you can do, like on Amazon, it's very hard to do. On Shopify, you can build these types of profiles, and you can, go out there just very casually and ask questions and get polls and start to build out these segmented lists that we have. I don't know if you want to add to anything like that.
No, I mean, I definitely think that you hit it right on the head when it comes to discussing like zeroing in on who's your target audience. There's different ways that you can do market segmentation. So like marketing segmentation is usually built into 3 components. So you have like concentration marketing, you have segmentation marketing, and then you have like what I would call like granular marketing. So segmentation or concentration marketing is like, let's say you were targeting this is a really good example. Let's say you're doing yoga products, right? Um, there, if you were to if you were to, which is where most startups or, most companies that are testing product market fit early on, they're in this stage, right? They should be, at least, which is concentration marketing. Concentration marketing is when you basically concentrate on a very specific audience, right? You're not just concentrating on people who like yoga. You're concentrating on people who do spiritual yoga, right? Or acro yoga, or very, very niche, right? Like very niche, however you pronounce it. You're concentrated on them, right? You're concentrated on who that very specific audience is. You don't detract from it. Now, you can test them in increments to see which one is probably the best performing audience, or which one you think resonates with your brand the best, but you're still always concentrated. You're not doing both. You're concentrating, you're focused on that audience, and all your marketing assets, all your language, the colors, the branding, everything matches that audience, right? Once you get there, you move into segmentation audience, because then you have segments of that concentrated market. So you have a concentrated market that has a very specific audience, but then there are people who do, let's say we're talking about spiritual yoga. There are people who do spiritual yoga for different reasons. So there's people who do different yoga, and then there's people who do, with, like, in the case of like spiritual yoga, we'll call it. And then there's people who do that spiritual yoga for different reasons. And now you can segment that audience. Maybe some people do it to relieve anxiety or depression. Maybe some people do it for mobility and health and wellness. Maybe some people do it because they like a sense of community. You've got 3 more audiences that you can segment from that segmented audience, or from that concentrated audience. So what I like to do is I like to pick multiple concentrated audience and segment them. So I won't just target, like when you say you target everybody, okay, well, let's say you target everybody in the yoga community. Well, you need to concentrate and then segment. So you would have 4 different avatars, right? You'd have 4 different concentrations with different segmentation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how I approach audiences and niches. Because everybody wants to sell their stuff to everybody, right? That's not
Yeah.
uncommon. We all want to sell our products, right? So it's hard to say, oh, well, there's that audience and this audience, and I want to scratch. Okay, there are, but the way to combat that is know that you concentrate them first, and know, hey, I'm going to do spiritual yoga first. I'm going to test that audience. Then after that, I'm going to move into this audience. If you have the plan of knowing of how you're going to expand, you won't be so worried about targeting that audience and having to sell to them right away, because you'll know that, okay, they're third in line with who I'm going to target after I find out who my number 1 audience is. And then eventually, through testing, you might find that number 2 audience was actually your number 1 audience. I thought when I started my protein company, my supplement brand in 2014, I thought my audience was going to be like young, 23 to 40, year old women. It ended up being like significantly older parts of the population, right? Like 65, 70 plus. So it was that was through testing that I found that. But the point is I stuck there, realized it wasn't working, tested another one. Okay, now this is going a lot better than the last audience I tested, right? And then it also helps you take a data-driven approach. So you're not attached to any one audience, right? You test it and you go into it with the mind of a scientist, more so than just like a marketer. And you go in there and you say, okay, how does this audience perform? How does this audience perform? And then when you find one, you segment, and then you go into the other ones in that area. So you might sell dog treats for dog trainers, but then you might sell dog treats for hunters, and you just start, what kind of hunting do you do? What kind of dog do you have? Like, they break it down.
Yeah, what you were just talking about, we had Stephen Black on, and he did exactly what you were talking about. So very
Yeah.
broad. And then what he did is what he does is he goes and he finds all the different groups that, like you were talking about with yoga, it might be for anxiety or depression.
Right.
Okay, that's one small area for yoga, but there's
Right.
definitely a Facebook group for that.
For sure.
Definitely.
100%. Of course.
And then you go, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say at least a couple thousand people that are now part of a community. It's not even about selling them stuff. It's just about building that community around your brand. And now you've got segments. And then on top of that, like, dude, if you think about the power, and that's like when we like get into like where I get like the nerdy stuff about like data and like understanding like how powerful that really is, that why digital advertising is the powerhouse that it is outside of just Facebook advertising. Because I love paid ads just as much as the next marketer, but that's not what really makes this special, right? What makes it special is the access to the data that we have as marketers. Like I can pivot on something 500 times faster than anybody could have ever pivoted in the last century when it comes to my marketing. I can know whether an ad's working within 7 days. And as marketers, we get spoiled with that. And it may be even a little bit less in some cases, but we get spoiled with that because it's just the new standard. But dude, advertisers in the 90s would kill to have the level of insight that we have. So when you have like audiences and we tend to like minimize 1,000 people, like 1,000 people, if you put that on the floor of a condominium, it won't fit, right? Like 1,000 people wouldn't fit on an entire floor of a condominium. 1,000 people is a lot of people, but now not only do you have the traffic, you've got data, you've got your traffic segmented. So you already know who all your customers are, or a large, I wouldn't say all, because not all join, but you know what I'm saying? You've got that level of insight and saying like, wow, our hunting audience for these dog chews or these dog treats is really high amongst the hunters. Our Facebook group's up to 5,000 and they're really engaged, right? Brands pay literally millions of dollars, big brands, right? Some legacy brands, some of the brands where we've had the opportunity to work with, they pay a lot of money to be able to have a community. Like you can't discount the fact that you have as like a smaller marketer competing against the big fish. You actually have the same level of potential to build a community that a Fortune 500 company has. In fact, you could probably do it even more because you can get granular with developing the relationship. And it's really the long-term play and where e-commerce is really going. Like D2C is not in the space of like, I'm just going to run Facebook ads. Those days are done. Like that does not exist, right? I'm just going to run Facebook ads. I'm going to run profitable ROAS. Cost is cheap. Everybody's buying stuff. The level of data that Facebook has is insanely accurate. That's 2013 to 2016 max. Those days are like non-existent. So what you're talking about, building community, Facebook groups, segmenting data, understanding your traffic, building relationships, you can do so much damage with that as a seller. And when I say damage, I mean like really like put a dent in the market share for companies that are paying a lot of money. You could do it boots to ground, right? And have a really tremendous amount of impact on the market share that you're acquiring from these big companies. And you could do it through Facebook groups that maybe aren't even huge, but they're communities. So clearly I get really nerdy and passionate about that because you're 100% right.
You can never tell. Okay, so we are at the bottom of the hour, just past the bottom of the hour. And if you have questions, come on, people. I thought there'd be tons of questions in here. Don't be shy. If you don't have, or if you think that it's a newbie question, that's great. There's a lot of people listening that are newbies. So anyways, throw it over and we'll make sure that Caulen is around and can answer these questions. Even if you have comments about Shopify, are you on Shopify? How are you finding it? As I mentioned, we are going to have a draw today or a giveaway, and that's going to be hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. First time listener, we provide a giveaway at the end of every podcast. So it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. Tag 2 people, you get a second entry. What is the giveaway today? All I know is it's awesome.
So do you want me to explain it?
Go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. So basically, with every brand that we bring into our agency that we decide to work with, we do a pretty intense brand selection process. That's where my role really comes in. So I'll look at a product, I'll speak with the business owner. I want to know their expectations and stuff like that. But more importantly, I give these brand owners, I give them a very clear, concise report and understanding of why they should or shouldn't be making this move. Because a lot of Amazon sellers, I'd say the better part of 90% of them want to explore D2C as a channel to generate more revenue. But similarly, out of those 90%, 90% of them shouldn't do it, but they don't know why. And it's hard because the only real resource that most people have is to speak to an agency owner who has a vested interest in getting you to uh, sign with trying to expand your brand from Amazon to Shopify and do Facebook ads and stuff like that. We've been doing this for a long time, so we know that not all brands, like I said, 90% of them shouldn't move to Shopify, but not a lot of Amazon sellers know why. And this is valuable because now you'll have a very clear, honest and concise reason as to what the risks are, why this is probably not a great decision for you. It's not a sales call. It's a product audit that basically encompasses significantly more than what even you and I have just talked about today. So it's really, really valuable in terms of understanding where you exist in this ecosystem. Should you be doing this? Should you not be doing this? Why shouldn't you? And it doesn't just mean if I tell you don't work with my agency, it means just don't work with any agency. Save your money, allocate the resources somewhere else. And here are the exact reasons why you should not do this, as opposed to, oh yeah, this is a great idea for everybody who calls me or talks to me, because that's just not what the goal is. The goal is to make sure that we mitigate risk for you. So yeah, it's really, really valuable. Everybody always comes out of the call with really great feedback, insights, understanding. I take a look at the product. I look at your metrics. I look at your margins. I give you insight into how that's going to impact everything in your business on the D2C side. So it's just my one-on-one time, and it's always my goal is to provide value. I don't sell anything. I don't even talk about the agency. The whole call is about the product.
I think this is a great giveaway. And if you've been listening for the last 30 minutes, you'll know that Caulen knows his stuff as well. So, and this is worth at least $500, at least. So
yeah, it's like a consulting call.
Yeah. So if you're interested in this, have a detailed audit of your brand, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, you get a second entry. And Kelsey, put your finger on the button. Let's go to a sponsor. Launching products isn't like it used to be. To successfully launch your product, you need to hit that algorithm from all sides. Driving external sales, boosting social signals, and increasing product listing engagement are fundamental to success. Rebate is the first and only launch platform that delivers across this broad range. Get your product featured on Amazon.live through Rebate's influencer program. With this service, your product gets instant exposure to large audiences of shoppers and permanent placement on Amazon Influencer Storefront, which drives perpetual sales. Run a sweepstakes campaign on Rebate and connect with shoppers off Amazon. And lastly, drive external sales with tried and true deals campaigns. Visit rebate.com today and get started with your 14-day free trial. Okay, here is a challenge to anybody listening. Tony, Rad, Luke, Chuck, Spencer, Marsha, and anybody else that's that been putting information in the comments section. What question do you have about Shopify? I know there's questions, so throw them over in the comments section, and let's see. That's the challenge to everybody listening right now. All right, so let's just move on here. And I mean, that last topic we were talking about is so interesting. And one of the things I really like about going into those niche, the niches, is that you can actually come out of there speaking the language of the niche. And, I think that's really important, that people, authority and trust, right? So authority equals trust equals sales. If you know the lingo, the lingo of the group, then you can apply that, and you can apply it to your ads. You can apply it to however however the conversation is going back and forth in any engagement. So that's another reason why you should be going in and checking out these groups.
Yeah. The vernacular is one of the most important things that we do. I mean, research is a whole discussion in and of itself. Like it's fundamental to everything we do. I mean, without product research, without audience research, understanding the difference between psychographics and demographics, like you're really never going to be able, on the marketing side, to compete, right? We allocate minimum 15 hours. Our team will do 15 hours of audience research minimum on any new brand that we work with, any new project that we take on, anything that if we're investing into an industry, and we're going to go and let's say we're going to do something in the home goods space, or we're going to do something in the cosmetic space, the amount of research that we do is extensive. We're not just like skimming the surface and selling what we want to sell, because it's not what we want to sell, it's what people want to buy. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we know what people want. We listen to what they want. We listen to how they articulate that they want it, so that we can use those words, we can use those terms, right? If somebody says that they have dry, flaky, acne-prone skin, we want to listen to how they would suggest that a product would solve that. You find that in 3-star reviews. You find that in 1-star reviews. You just got to listen. That's again like audience research in 2023 is as easy as it's ever been. You go into community groups, you go into reviews, you go on Instagram and just type in the hashtag. You can learn. I mean, I've written landing pages for nurse practitioners that one of our clients is a massive influencer in the nurse practitioner space. And you wouldn't know the difference between him writing it and me writing it, because I did extensive audience research, right? So it's one of those things where if you don't research the audience, none of it's really relevant, because you're never going to speak the language of your customer. It's not authentic. It really won't work. It's backbone is an understatement.
Yeah, just talking about the psychological, we had Steve Wiedemann on, incredible SEO guy, and that's basically what he does. He takes a look at, why am I, and I'm talking about Fortune 5 companies. So, why am I not selling, or, how can we double our sales? He's gone in, I know he was working with Skechers and he did this, tweaked the meta title and description just by changing around the words, and overnight, basically, this one sale had doubled in sales.
Crazy. Yeah. It's really amazing how you can do that. And that's why I was saying, like, the level of data and the level of insights that we have at our disposal, it's almost impossible not to know who your audience. It's literally inexcusable. Like if you're trying to sell a product and you don't know your audience in the space that you're working in, some people just don't know they can do it, which is fine, right? Not everybody, you don't know what you don't know. But if you know and you're not doing it, it's just pure laziness, because and maybe it's a little tedious sometimes, because like there's times where I don't just have my team. If we're investing in an industry, like if we're getting in the cosmetic space, I don't just like send my team off to do it. I'm in forums, I'm reading comments, I'm reading not my team's doing it, and they're going to validate what I'm finding, or they're going to give me things that I didn't see. But if I'm going into an industry, like I said, home goods, cosmetics, those two spaces specifically that we're looking to get into, I know my audience, and I'm doing research. So it's just, at this point, there's no reason not to do it. It can only help you, even as tedious as it sounds, because it's not a direct. You don't get a sale when you're done. When you're done doing all the research. So sometimes it's hard to quantify that time with an ROI. But I can assure you, the knowledge and the ability to consider your customer when you're writing, when you're creating pictures, there's a psychological change that happens in your brain when you're developing the brand, that makes you think, oh wait, is that what my avatar would say? Is that what they would do? Is that what they would they like that term? Would they like that product? There's when you move in that kind of direction, you stay consistent, right? Which brands and people love consistency. So that's just another bonus for making sure that you're just on point with who you're speaking to and how you're saying and how you're speaking to them. You don't speak at people, you speak to them.
Right. One of the and I already know your answer. It's going to be, how long is a piece of string? But what type of expectations can people have when they want to go and try to expand?
Yeah, it depends. If they're a private label seller that is coming fresh off of Amazon, with no existing sales, with basically a brand new website, brand new landing pages, brand new products, things like that, brand new content, you can expect, probably assuming you have the infrastructure, not just on paid advertising, you probably have, we'll start with just monetary because I'm sure your audience will get a lot of value out of that. You're probably looking at between 40 to 50 grand in advertising and testing, to understand, is this going to work? Because you can't just put up a website and drive traffic at it. You have to give yourself the best chance for success. That's going to include probably 2 quarters of advertising, right? So you have advertising budget, you have management fees if you're going to hire an agency, which you're likely going to do, which is going to be a couple $1,000s minimum, right? And at then I'd still be kind of careful because you got to make sure you get the right infrastructure, landing pages, emails, all the things that require that you test this properly. Monetarily, you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, you're looking at about a $30,000 to $50,000 test. And your goal as a brand, as a business owner, is to figure out, can this be continued? Can I continue? Is this a smart business move from here? That's why when I go and I discuss with brand owners, I really bring them to the reality of what this looks like, right? Like, is this something that you're willing to undertake? It doesn't mean you have a bad product, doesn't mean you have a bad business. What I'm trying to help you do is mitigate risk, right? Like, I'm trying to minimize the risk that you're about to take by telling you this is probably not the best idea for you, because it's not as linear, right? Because there's too many moving parts. So the first thing that you just really have to expect is a pretty sizable investment, especially if you're coming with basically nothing and you have to build out. I mean, think about it might be a little bit less expensive to build out an Amazon store, but it still takes a lot of time, energy, resources, inventory, things like that. It's the same thing on D2C, right? So you're going to have a pretty sizable investment. And that investment at that point is the standard that I always guarantee, to give you guys to give your audience an idea of what I expect as an agency owner at that stage is, you cannot guarantee success. You can only guarantee undeniably good work. Basically, you're going to give the product the best infrastructure, the best marketing possible that you can to go test it in the marketplace. And then the market is going to decide and give you feedback on how it's receiving that message. Make sense?
Yep.
So that's where you exist. You're essentially a startup again on D2C, because you're not capturing keywords. You got to go and compete with people who are spending money on advertising, likely in the same place that you are. So that's number one. Another, I guess, expectation would be the other two sellers. Another seller could be somebody who is selling on Amazon pretty much 95%, but they've got a spark. They've got a spark in their D2C space, right? Maybe they're getting some sales. They're seeing some traction. That you should start to look into the possible expectation that, hey, I have something here. Now maybe what I need to do is amplify my message, right? I need to amplify my ability to get to more consumers, to have retargeting, to have some things to capture the traffic that's coming to my website, landing page, whatever it is you have. How do we make the most of that? How do we get to a point where we can test this? It doesn't take as much because you've already got something. You have what I call like minimum viable product. You've got MVP, right? You've got something it's got wheels, but I don't really know yet. That's a better place to be than completely native. You're not risking as heavy at that point. There's a little bit more room for, hey, I should be able to make some money on this, right? First one, it's like, just see where it's going to go. Second one is like, I should be able to monetize this. Let's see how that looks. Third is, you're a retail brand, or you're a brand that's already been your entrance into e-commerce. Let's say you've been selling in Whole Foods for 10 years, and your first entrance into e-commerce was going on Amazon. You saw some really great results on Amazon. You have brand recognition, and maybe now you're moving into Shopify because you're already doing $10,000 a month on that just because you have an audience. That's obviously the golden spot to be in, because you know that you've got something. Unless you've just got an Amazon store and you're already doing both, you just need somebody to come in and do a better job because your agency's not doing a good job. That's great for us, because now we can just accelerate everything. Those are like the easiest, right? I don't like to say anything's easy. They require the least amount of knob turning, right? So those are different mindsets based on where you're at. No sales, no infrastructure. This is a test. Not a lot of sales, but decent infrastructure. Worth giving it a shot. I've already got some sales. I've got a brand. People know me. You should be able to start driving some revenue through that website.
Got it. Okay, Kels, I think we should probably get into some questions now. We got a bunch that just came in.
All right. Yeah, we can jump into some questions. From Chuck, how early in your brand building should you consider expanding from Amazon to Shopify? Is there a too early metric you should follow?
Yeah, so I would say that it's number one. I would say how consistent is your Amazon channel being for you in terms of generating revenue, right? Because again, we don't want to make it into I'm not doing as well as I'd like to on Amazon, so I want to move to Shopify. Do you have Amazon dialed in? Are you dialed in logistically? Are you dialed in with your advertising, your PPC? How's your Amazon business? Because your Amazon business is essentially, if you're especially if you're a native Amazon seller, it's going to provide the revenue to drive another sales channel. You don't want to be leveraging your own cash, right? You want to leverage your asset that you have to go ahead and feed into another channel. I would say that you need to have, if you're generating, assuming you meet all the product, quality inspection things that I would look at, you probably want to be into the very high 6, low 7-figure range. I don't always like to give like revenue baselines because it can be a little bit, it might be a little bit premature because I haven't seen the product. I don't know what it might actually perform better if you were on Shopify because you have the right marketing assets that are better for that. So it can be very subjective, but I would say high 6, early 7 figures minimum. You've got a very strong dial on predictable customer acquisition, maybe some retention, obviously, on your Amazon side of your business. If you're there, I'd say it's worth exploring. If you're looking to do it because you want to get away from Amazon or you're trying to like make up for money that you're losing on Amazon, I don't think it's a smart move. I actually know it's not because I've seen it happen. So that's really where you want to be. Predictable revenue and meeting the product criteria, and then obviously moving into the actual expansion, what it's going to cost for you to do that, and being able to understand that it's not going to be cheap.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
All right. So next one, this is more of a comment. We were asking our sellers if they are on Shopify. So Tony says, my Shopify traffic is growing organically due to our blogs, etc., but sales are down due to higher prices and recession, etc.
Yeah. So, one of the solutions for that, there's a lot of things I could say about that. But at its heart, what I would say, if I were to solve that problem, if somebody came to me with that problem, I would say the very first thing you have to do is test the idea of putting together better offers on those pages, right? Because like right now, sales are down due to higher prices. I don't really think that people don't buy things because of price. I think that they don't buy things because of the value associated with the price that you're charging. So look at Costco, right? I can go downstairs to a grocery store and get a tube of toothpaste for $4 or $5, or I could go to Costco and get like 30 of them, for like, you know, $50, right? I'm willing to pay more, but I'm also getting more, right? That's why, because I'm getting more value for my money. And that's the Costco model. They give you, you don't walk out of Costco spending $100. You walk out of Costco spending $1,000, $700. People are willing to pay more. They have to equate that spending to value. That's the kind of person I am. I'll spend a lot of money on something if I see the value in it, right? And that's and everybody's value proposition, they have a different tolerance for what value is to them. You can put two multimillionaires next to each other. One person will see the value in a Lamborghini. The other one will see it as a piece of metal with an engine, right? That they don't want to waste their money on. So if you were in this situation where you're driving organic traffic and you're not really looking to buy more traffic, but you'd like to see about making more money, maybe just charge more, but give more, right? So instead of just selling one product, you have wherever people are going to, split test the idea of maybe putting an offer that's maybe a little bit more expensive, but maybe they get a free gift with it. Maybe they buy it. Maybe it's a buy two, get one free. Try and find a way to send your traffic to better offers, because now you've already got the traffic. They're already buying, and price point is clearly a problem for you at this point. And so is the recession. The best way to overcome that is to just give people more for their money. But you don't have to discount it necessarily. Like, you don't have to discount your one product more. Just sell more for more and provide more value. And that you can also play with margins now, because now you've got two products. And you could probably get more. You could probably put both into one package so you can maximize your logistics as well.
Okay. Next question.
Okay, from Spencer. Do you need a 3PL before getting started on Shopify?
No, you can do FBA through your Shopify store and fulfillment. There's a couple of apps. I don't have the name of them. My director of growth probably has them. I haven't seen them in a bit, but I do know that you can definitely link your Shopify store to your FBA fulfillments for sure, 100%.
Okay, and this one's more about retail, but recently one of our family members who work for a primary marketing agency in the USA looked at my products. He suggested that my products are for Walmart customers. Is that true? Are there products for certain retailers and not for others?
Yeah, sure. So I would say that if in that question, Rod, is that there are certain products that I wouldn't say that it's a Walmart product. I would say it's a marketplace product, right? So the same product that you sell on Amazon, you could probably sell it on Walmart, and that's because it's a marketplace product. Maybe you sell a very commoditized product. Maybe it's a phone charger or a spatula, not literally, but if it's in that realm, that's probably more of a marketplace product. So there are marketplace products, and there are more like direct consumer friendly products. And in this instance, if you were selling like a really highly commoditized product, I would say in the context of Amazon, of Walmart, maybe this person knows Walmart. It says, oh, this would be a great product to sell on Walmart as opposed to Shopify. That is very reasonable to say. I wouldn't, if we're getting caught up in semantics a little bit, I would say it's not really where it is, it's just the method of which you're selling it. Because I also would say that a Walmart product could very well be an eBay product or an Etsy product, right? But maybe it's not a direct to consumer product. So it's more the method of which you're selling it versus the platform that you're selling it on.
Okay, and our last question is from Spencer. How much capital should I have before starting on Shopify? I think we kind of touched on this before, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd say it depends on the level of content that you have, the level of infrastructure you already have. Like, do you have a website? Do you have landing pages? Do you have these, basic things? I'd say on the low, you're probably around 30K for right around a 3 to 5 month engagement, and then maybe 50K across the span of 5 to 6 months. Again, assuming you have the right infrastructure. Sometimes it can be a little bit less, but I like to play it safe in terms of just the estimation. 20 grand is a pretty big gap in and of itself. It's about 50% gap between the two numbers. So it can swing a little bit. It just really depends on where you're at in your business. But I'd say just to assume and be safe, 30, 50K with management fees and things like that.
All right. Kels, no more, right?
Yep, that's it for the question.
Okay, so before we get over to the Wheel of Kelsey, and by the way, this is the last time you get a chance to do this, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you'll get a second entry. Your contact information, or who should be contacting you, how can they follow you?
Sure.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, so there's obviously you can visit our agency website directly. All of the booking calls and stuff, they all go to me. So I see every single person, every single brand that comes into our agency. I talk to every single one of them. So you can imagine how many people I've talked to. But you can visit us at brainpower.agency, BrainPower is the name, brainpower.agency. And like I said, once you click on there, all those calls will go to me. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. If you spell my name Caulen, I'll probably be one of the few people that pops up. So Caulen Foster. And you can email me as well at Caulen, Caulen at brainpower.agency. I think you guys are also going to be posting a link for the book a call thing for anybody who wins the giveaway. So but either way, you can go on the website and you'll be able to get in touch with me.
All right, fantastic.
But I'm active on all those.
Perfect. All right, Kels, let's head over to our last sponsor, and then we'll get over to the wheel.
Okay, here we go.
I want to thank Jeff Schick Legal for sponsoring this episode of Lunch with Norm. You've probably heard on the podcast about Amazon suspensions. they're very real. It can happen at any time. And when it does happen, how do you get out of it? How does the little guy like you and me get out of these suspensions without paying an arm and a leg in legal fees? This is where Jeff Schick Legal is here to help. For a very low monthly retainer, for only $89, get access to Amazon attorney Jeff Schick. That's right. You can sit back, relax, enjoy that cup of coffee while listening to the Lunch with Norm podcast, knowing that you have an advocate and a partner in your business success. But wait, just mention Lunch with Norm and receive 50% off the first 2 months. Get the protection you need and visit jeffschick.com today. That's JEFFSCHICK.com. Now let's get back to the show. There we go. It's time.
All right, here we go. We'll head over to the Wheel of Kelsey. Enjoy, everyone.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
Rich just snuck it in.
Yeah, got him. All right, so I think I've got everyone. I'll shuffle these names up. And we do this every single podcast, so make sure you come back Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you are the winner, please email me, k@lunchwithnorm.com. And it looks like it's
Marina. That was close.
All right. Congratulations, Marina. Again, that's k@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'll send you that link for Caulen's calendar. Caulen, did you want to do one more?
Yeah, you can do two. It's so funny because I thought it was gonna land on Miss Kari. I felt bad. I was like, oh man, she just missed it.
All right, we'll do one more.
All right, a double.
Let's see who it is.
And Rich, you can't win twice. Or Marina. Oh,
All right,
Rad.
Rad. Marina and Rad. All right, congratulations.
There we go. Well, that's great. And thank you so much. Those are 2 instead of 1. That's awesome, Caulen. Thank you so much.
For sure. Of course. Yep. Happy
Okay.
to do it.
So you are off the hook. That's it. I hope you can come back in less than 2 years.
Yeah.
We'll be nudging you, but yeah,
Nice.
It was really a pleasure to have you on today. And if you don't mind, if you just want to stick around for a second afterwards,
Yeah,
and
of course.
we'll just have you in the waiting room, I think they call it. All right.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir, and we'll see you in a sec. Want more great information? Don't forget to subscribe by clicking here. Also, if you want to check out our latest podcasts, click over here.
Lunch with Norm.